All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Discourse About Nothing, episode 13. Today I'm going to talk about a theory of art that I have developed. There goes the intro. Goodbye. Rough cut. A theory of art that I have developed. It's nothing very new, but I think, can put things in context. And I'm going to turn off my headphone monitor because I hear myself twice. That's annoying me. But I want to give a rough theory of art, or how I see art, or how I see one kind of art, and the purpose of that art, to build on last week's video. And then I want to criticize a particular YouTuber, which I will pull up and show their video or parts of their video, and kind of show you how essentially the popular opinion differs so much from my own. And since my own is pulled directly from ancient and medieval theories of art, how our contemporary common sense view of art is just completely contrary to the attitudes that people throughout history have had, or at least artists and thinkers have had throughout history. So first, though, I wanted to show you this. Not that. This. You can even make thumbnails with AI now. Isn't that cool? So this is going to be the thumbnail for this video. I'm just going to use this website every time. It's going to be great. But yeah, you can AI thumbnail generator. Isn't that cool? You have a trendy, awesome thumbnail. But anyway, I want to start out by just plugging my photo book. This is the first one in a 3-volume set. They are $20 for a set. A lot of the people that watch these videos, which means 3 people, have bought these already, so thank you for your support. These were very expensive to print, and I'm not making any money off of them. I just don't want to lose all of my money. Just try to break even. But each of these photo books start out, each of the 3 volumes, with a really small 2 to 3 page essay on the philosophy of photography, or the philosophy of art in general, and how I see art, and how I see what I'm trying to do with these images in this photo book here. So I want to start out by just reading you the first volume, number 1. They're just titled number 1, number 2, number 3. I want to read you the first one, the essay from the first one. And then I want to compare it to, why is this, come on, stupid camera cannot focus. Then I want to compare it to the video and the common sense view we're about to see. So the title of the first one, Art as Inherently Interesting. Wow, what a cool title. What is art? That's too complex a question. Art, understood in its most general sense, as the processes or products of human creation, has many uses. It's better to ask something more modest. What could art be? What sorts of ends could our creative powers be directed towards? Most of us, as a result of the Enlightenment, have come to think of art as purely instrumental. A painting might express an idea, convey a mood, or stimulate delight in an observer. An artist might engage in the artistic process in order to please, comfort, or challenge themselves, communicate with or impress others, or achieve deeper self-understanding. None of these ends are objectionable in and of themselves, but when these are taken to be the sole purposes of art, they become limitations, preventing the artist from pursuing something higher, more noble, reducing the artwork to the status of a mere tool, totally relativizing its worth to our subjective goals or psychological states. In focusing only on the instrumental functions of art, we often overlook the inherent beauty, value, or pleasantness of the artwork. We tend to make our own individual or collective idiosyncrasies and fickle preferences the ultimate evaluative criteria of whether an artwork deserves to be taken seriously. Approaching aesthetic judgment in this way makes an artwork successful, worthy of praise, only if it can live up to a host of unstable, often arbitrary standards, produced more by historical accident than a process of rational development. In our time, art has become subject to the cult of utility, the religion of usefulness. But do we not already sense that art can be something much more? Do we not already want to produce and observe aesthetic objects that, in some objective sense, add to the overall value of the world on their own? Many of us are already aware of a more noble approach to art. As Scruton pointed out, there is a vast difference between how we approach a book of legal codes and a novel. If we could perfectly memorize all the information in the former, we'd have no further use for it. The legal text is a mere tool for conveying information, and once it's aided us in achieving our goals, it can be discarded without loss. But the novel is fundamentally different. Despite having memorized all of its conceptual contents, we often return to our favorite novels repeatedly. We take pleasure in the very process of reading a good novel, letting its story unfold over time and savoring its mode of expression. The novel is not, as the textbook is, a mere tool, but a good in itself, something we value for its own sake. Put another way, we're interested in the novel itself, not merely in how the novel relates to us or its usefulness. The value of the novel is not purely a function of its external relations, whether those relations be its historical context or its power to stir up certain sentiments. Generalizing from the novel, we might say that some artworks, and note I say some, can stand on their own as objects worthy of love for their own sakes. In some sense, the aesthetic object can make demands upon us, provide us with reasons for loving it or taking interest in it, even if it does not directly appeal to our prior commitments. Sometimes we ought to love an artwork even if we don't currently. In this way, we can be said to grow to appreciate art, rather than merely change our likings. Our tastes can be said to mature or develop for the better towards some ideal, rather than merely shifting over time without direction. Only if we admit that in some sense artworks can be normatively, non-instrumentally good in themselves, can we pretend to have anything more than arbitrary aesthetic preferences, directionless and guided primarily by cultural historical forces outside of our control. Otherwise, we must admit that there is no normatively significant difference between a lover of the arts and an aesthetically apathetic Philistine. Sure, the former may be more emotionally mature, more open to their fellow man, to the natural world, etc., just by caring more deeply about art. But when it comes to the artworks themselves, neither party is more justified than the other. The artworks themselves simply provide no reasons for the Philistine to care about what the aesthete cares about. There would be nothing crude, cruel, or petty about the attitude of the Philistine in and of itself. Working out a precise account of just how or why artworks can be truly worthy of love as ends in themselves and not merely as tools will probably be forever beyond us. Does the value stem from the artwork itself or from a projection of the rational mind upon the artwork? What is the difference between an artwork being inherently worthy of non-utilitarian love and merely worthy of non-utilitarian love, i.e. between inherent and final aesthetic value? At the very least, our own tendencies to cherish certain aesthetic objects, to return to them repeatedly, and to feel justified frustration with those who fail to appreciate them like we do, betrays a longing for our artworks to be finally valuable, worthy of love for their own sakes. I hope I have succeeded in producing at least one such object here. Signed, yours truly, me. Okay, overall point of what I'm saying. There are many different ways to define art. There are many different types of art. There are many different things that we could hope to gain from art. There are many different purposes or goals we can have in making and looking at art. I'm not disputing that there's a bunch of different things we could want to do and that could be good for us to do, such as, maybe even comforting ourselves, aggrandizing ourselves, communicating something. But the problem is our culture focuses so narrowly and specifically just on the uses of art. The communicative uses, the emotional uses. They don't focus on the artwork itself. The artwork is a mere tool. And what happens when a tool isn't perfect? You get a better tool and you throw the old one away. What happens when a tool, you've gotten everything that you need from the tool? You don't need it anymore. You throw it away, right? And so there is this other sense, there's this other approach to art that should not be controversial, but it is now, in that we can strive to make art that is more than just a tool, that is something that in and of itself is worthy of our love and appreciation, in and of itself is beautiful, in and of itself is valuable, that just by that artwork existing, even when I'm dead and we're all dead, the world was a better place. Not for what it can do for you, but for what it is itself. Its nature, its essence makes the world a better place, right? So there is another approach to art, making inherently valuable artifacts, creating inherently valuable beings. Art can be creative in that we bring something inherently valuable into the world. We don't just bring in another tool. If we want to communicate well, we already have language. We have writing. Why do it also through artwork? I mean, maybe it has some unique advantages, but, I can communicate just fine my emotions. Art can, and I think should, be something more than that. It should be, one of the goals of the artist should be to produce artworks that are good in and of themselves, that are beautiful in and of themselves. The artwork is the goal. It's not just, as you hear, it's not just the journey, it's not just the process. I'm not saying those things are bad, but I'm saying the journey takes most of its value from where you're going. Sorry to contradict all the people who are like, well, it's not the destination, it's the journey, right? No, it is the destination. If your journey is to the concentration camp, your journey is going to suck. Sorry. If your journey is to a beautiful national park, and you take your time and make it a nice journey, and you have it in your mind that you're going to national park, your journey's probably going to be great. And the destination's going to be great. They can both be great. You can enjoy, as I do, the artistic process of creation. That's not bad. Okay? It can help you. It can heal you in various ways. But you should also be aware that the end product matters, and that's actually the thing that has lasting power. That artistic process, as soon as you're done with it, you're done. It's over. Goodbye. Forever. But your artwork is here to stay. If you want something more lasting, pursue that artwork. And I can't exactly prove why you should care about making an artwork that's inherently valuable and worthy of love. My case, my appeal is just that you already do. Like, unless you're just a total immature little baby boy or girl, you already do care about it. You don't want to just make things that people have no real reason to care about, right? Other than how it benefits them or benefits society. And this is a major thing with, cancel culture, as some people call it. I'm shaking my camera. Getting so angry, I'm shaking my desk. This is a problem with things like cancel culture, both on the left and the right, because as anyone who knows history knows, the right does a lot of cancel culture too. Topic for another day. But, with cancel culture, essentially what you have is, it's not just attacking people for doing wrong. The mentality of cancel culture starts to attack artworks for being imperfect, or artworks for being made by imperfect or even very morally flawed, reprehensible people. But what it ends up doing is, if there's some sort of flaw in the background of an artwork, it ignores the artwork itself as a separate being, and just essentially reduces its value to either what it's communicating or failing to communicate, or how it was made, which is something external to itself, right? There are two ways to think about artwork. You could think about all the external factors and what it's useful for. You could think about the artwork itself. And our mentality about art really shows up in the problems with cancel culture, because it's just like, it's a perfect example of just how we focus so much on maybe, racial justice, which, hey, I'm totally on board for. We focus so much on things like racial justice or feminism, that if there's a movie or a painting or an author that is, especially if they're from a time where where the average person did not have our same sensibilities. And for the record, if you don't have the same sensibilities about racial justice as I do, you're wrong, and it's bad, and that makes you a worse person. Sorry. Like there are just moral truths about these sorts of things. I'm not a relativist, right? Like people in the past were wrong, even if they couldn't help being wrong, they're still wrong, and that makes that part of them, their character, worse, right? Um, but anyway, even if you couldn't help being wrong about something, you're still wrong, and but that doesn't mean that they were worthless. That doesn't mean that overall they're lesser beings than us. And that doesn't mean that their artwork that was made from a flawed heart, from a flawed position, has no value. People in the past, despite their flaws, produce insanely beautiful things. But if you stop focusing on the objects themselves and you just focus on the external factors to them, their messages, their cultural or historical context, um, you know, you end up, everything's tarnished. You have to get rid of everything. And it's not just people in the past, it will be us too. Because again, like people tend to think that our generation is so much more woke and moral than people in the past because they were racist. But I got news for you, everybody. This generation is one of the most materialistic, disgusting generations of all time. We are completely destroying the planet, and we are going to end up impoverishing and killing millions and millions and millions of people, just because we want nice things. And we don't even get nice things. Like I discussed in the last video, we get crappy products, that we trick ourselves into thinking we want and are nice. So we are a materialistic, what did David Bentley Hart say? He called us materialistic savages. If you could bring someone even from the past to our time, let's say from ancient Greece or Rome, with all of their horrible moral atrocities, and you showed them our lives, they would probably consider us materialistic savages, was his point. Um, so if we don't take the mindset that we're still capable of creating something beautiful in and of itself, our art will be thrown away too. So in a sense, I think everybody, if they were really honest and thought about it, we do want to create artworks that are inherently beautiful, right? And the way I put it is, I can't prove this. This is how I see the world. I think it's coherent and philosophically defensible, but I think everything boils down to love. I think morality boils down to love. I think all of ethics, right? Like I just said, boils down to love. I think all of normativity boils down to love, although I can't exactly prove that. And I think art and aesthetics boil down to love. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make an object that you have reason to love. When I make a photograph, I'm trying to bring into being a new entity, the photograph, that is worthy of love in and of itself, not as a tool or not only as a tool, but in and of itself. It has this inherent visual beauty. And that's what I'm trying to do. Now, obviously, if you're a nihilist, you can't do that. You just don't believe anything has inherent beauty, inherent goodness. But I'm not a nihilist, right? So that's kind of how I approach art. Yes, my art is expressive. It does express ideas. It is a tool for expressing myself and my worldview and my ideas. Like if you look at a lot of the images that I take of, this one's mostly about abandoned buildings. Here's one. I know the camera's not great, but this bloody window right here, it's actually just paint. But that bloody window right here, I thought was really good communication of just like, how abandoned, corrupted industry is just bloody and violent. I don't know. It was more, not so much a statement as it is expressing a feeling of horror at industrialism. I tried. My images, especially the second volume, the pictorialist volume, that I put out, they do have messages, right? They do have uses. They have evoke emotion, hopefully. Um, they are tools, but they're not only tools. I hope the people that bought this, I hope the people that see these images can see these images as something that by their existence makes the world a better place. and that they want those images in their lives and they want to come back to them time and time again, not just as a tool, but for their own sake. Take me out of the picture. Take me out of the picture. I want the images. I want my art. I want my writings. I want everything I do. I want everything I make to, even if no one knows who I was, even if I die and everyone forgets me, I just want to bring things, I want to bring things into the world that are inherently worthy of love. Like God. Right? I want to be like God in that way. On the Christian view of things, that is the beauty of art, is that it is the way that mankind perhaps resembles God the most, right? Through the creation of inherently good things. Okay, so that's kind of my view on photography and on art in general. Like I said, it's not an exclusivist view. It's not a view that says there aren't other functions for art. It embraces all of the different functions of art, as long as they're morally upright functions. But it says there's one we typically overlook, and it's that the inherent beauty or value of the artwork itself. And if you want more detail on this, I'm writing a paper and then another book on why exactly that happened. That we lost faith in that artworks and things can have inherent beauty. And it's because of the Enlightenment, right? It's because of the post-Renaissance intellectual shifts where we lost faith in metaphysics. We shifted to an empirical or empiricist model of knowledge. And, we just lost faith that beauty was real, other than as a subjective psychological state. It's called the inward turn. But you can see my other work for that once it's out. Or if you want to read early drafts, you can just let me know. But so with that in mind, I want to take a look at a video I just watched today. And last time, you remember I was talking about this photography YouTuber who had really aesthetically cool channel, but he was just advertising. And he was even arguing in one of his videos that, oh, this camera is not just a tool. Like, you need this camera to do good photography. And it's just so consumeristic and gross, right? It does not focus on the actual thing you produce enough. It focuses just on the toys to make it. But, which, by the way, I do not think that cameras are not inherently valuable. I love my cameras. They're beautiful works of art. The camera itself can be a beautiful thing too, an inherently beautiful and valuable thing. It is a work of human genius, a camera, right? But I'm just saying, you can't let that take your eye off of the inherent value of the artwork that you're making with it too, right? That's probably more important. But this video right here, from a guy named Fil Nenna. Fil Nenna? Is that how I say it? Fil Nenna? That sounds like something like Medea would say. Fil Nenna. I'm not going to even try to do a Medea voice, though. So this guy made this video. Photography is not your hobby. It's an excuse. And his main idea is that, what most of us really like in photography, it's not even the camera. It's not even the process of doing photography. Those don't have inherent value. And he literally says that at one point. He says, pressing the button on the shutter doesn't have inherent value. Let's see if I could find that clip. Let me see. Here we go. You know what? I don't think my audio is even working. God, how embarrassing. How just stupid and embarrassing am I, huh? Audio output capture. How do I do this? Okay.
Have you ever
Okay, there we go. I'll be quiet, Nena.
video might help explain why. Photography is capturing an image on a light-sensitive substrate. The act of taking a photograph has no intrinsic value in itself.
There you go. I disagree with that right there. The act of taking a photograph has no intrinsic value in itself. Why not? You're interacting with a beautiful, I'm going to use my mouse, a beautiful camera that's a beautiful work of human genius and amazing technology. You're harnessing the laws of physics and chemistry to use light, which we don't even understand fully how it works, to hit a piece of film and interact with the crystals on it chemically to produce an image that roughly matches what your eye see, and you can distort it in certain ways. I'm sorry, every time you pick up a camera, it's beautiful. Like, that's an amazing thing. That's incredible. My mic is spiking as I get upset.
Take some pictures of absolutely nothing and it wouldn't excite me. Have you ever taken a picture without any motivation? That's mere photography.
Okay, so I agree with him when he says that's just mere photography. It's not very valuable just to, play around with a toy. But you would think that his ultimate conclusion from that is, well, your photography has to be going somewhere. It has to make an image that is valuable, right? Like I was saying. No, that's not what he says. He goes the completely opposite direction. He doesn't say, don't take these pictures of nothing. No, he says, and that's totally fine. It's just an excuse. Photography is just an excuse anyway for focusing and meditating on what you like. So the analogy that he uses and a bunch of people in the comments use, is my camera focusing? Can you focus on me? Thank you. No, it's still not doing it. There you go. Thank you. Now I've lost my train of thought. Okay, what he says is, look, there are plenty of people who are into sports, really into sports, and they pick up a camera and they start doing sports photography. They don't really care about the images they put out. They don't really care about the process of photography. What they care about is that photography gives them a way of focusing in on what they like and engaging with it even more. It's an excuse. Photography is an excuse for going to more sports games. That's his ultimate conclusion. Look at the title. It's not your hobby, it's an excuse. Let's see if I can find a clip of him saying that. Catch him red-handed in the act.
The experiences rather than the object.
Oh, there you go. I found it.
Those conversations to be about the experiences rather than the object. It usually triggers a memory of a family member or a dear friend, and those are great things to talk about. People really don't care if you're using a pen F or a pen Tax, but they will care if they remember their parents using one. Number 4, don't read how-to photography books, because the things you need to know about photography are not in them. This is all far more. Great photographers don't
Again, I don't really disagree with him, and that clip wasn't very clear. I don't really disagree with him in that the camera doesn't matter that much. The process doesn't matter that much. What matters is, and this is where we disagree, I say the end product, and all of it, but the end product primarily. He says no. It's just that you get to do what you like. If you like buildings, then you become an architecture photographer so you can hang around buildings more. The photography is just kind of incidental. It's just an excuse to do that. If you like sports, you become a sports photographer. But photography doesn't really matter. It's the sports you like. Same with cars, same with nature, same with animals, right? If you like animals, you become a nature photographer with a big old $5,000 lens that looks as long as my freaking nose. Wink. But, the photography, the process of photography doesn't matter that much. And the end result, the image doesn't even matter that much. What matters is that you're seeing through the image, and this is called the transparency thesis of photography, right? You're seeing through the image to the subject that you care about. It's not about the image. The image is just a tool to see the thing you care about. Throw the image away. If you could be forever with that deer that you took a picture of, wouldn't you rather have the deer? right? Oh man, where can I find him saying that exactly? I've got to find it. I'm gonna go insane. I need to find it. I need to find it, Jerry. He uses this. Yeah, photography is a tool.
It's a cliche to say that the camera's the tool, but what if we got it wrong, thinking too narrow? What if
yeah, you're
it's
thinking
photography
too narrow, bro.
that's the tool? The camera isn't the stand mixer. Photography is the stand mixer, and the camera's the on switch. Regardless, it's the cake that I'm interested in. Me, a photography.
That's just the most strained illustration. I had to think about it for so long. I'm not going to explain it.
Like me, a baking can be fun, but if you don't like eating cake, then it won't be fun for long. If you're someone who likes going out into the wilderness, the shutter button will only bring you joy when you're standing in front of a vista you've been waiting for months to go out and see. Those of you with an appreciation for geometry might enjoy the challenge of composition using architectural elements in your town. I'll go out on a limb and say you'd probably enjoy those things even if you didn't have a camera in your hand. The camera allows you to remember a point in space where you once occupied, or a feeling or an event, but you'd have experienced those things even if you weren't holding a camera.
Okay, so again, the camera is a mere tool. The process of photography even is a mere tool to get at what you really like. Do you see how he starts out agreeing with me? You know, the photographers often just focus on the cameras like they're toys. That's not that interesting, right? They focus on the process. The process isn't even that interesting, right? So you should focus on, really, it's all just a tool anyway, and it's really just about what you like, doing what you like, nothing deeper. And you know, I get what he's saying. He is correct. Photography can be a great way to do what you like. I love exploring abandoned buildings and pretending I'm in a post-apocalyptic wasteland and feeling like a big manly man when I do it, and not being scared when I hear raindrops on an abandoned metal roof in a factory and running out and pooping my pants like a little baby boy. That didn't happen. Photography has taken me to explore some really cool places, like the cover of this book. And I only got really scared when I explored that place because there was what I think was a raccoon making noise. And I thought it was a man. And it just turned out, I'm pretty sure that was a raccoon. But it can. I'm not saying that he's wrong in that photography can't be a great exercise in getting you out into the world to enjoy it and focus on it. That's true. But he framed the entire video, frames it like, oh, that's all I really care about. That's all we really care about. That's the primary thing. He doesn't care about the images. And look, I don't want to be mean to people. I don't want to be mean. But he talks about, come on, focus on me, you stupid camera. Hello? I get too animated and it's trying to focus on my hands. He talks about, with his own photography, that his own portraiture, it's not really about the final image. It's about the conversation. Let me find that. Here we go.
I take portraits. Here's the answer. I started to take portraits as a way to explore the city I was living in, meeting people I wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to meet. Over time, the process matured. A portrait is an excuse for a conversation. I like to find out what motivates people, where they've come from and where they'd like to be, how they've succeeded and how they've wrestled, and who they want to become. It's therapy, it's understanding,
Okay, again, I'm not saying that that's not a worthwhile goal. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's a great thing, man. Have at it. Sounds great. Sounds really fun. Cool. But not once does he mention the image as something to be proud of. The image as the end in itself. And I'm going to be mean. Look at his images right here. Okay? I don't want to be a jerk. But it shows. Okay? It shows. Sorry. It shows. Here's a great illustration of what I think a better attitude to have is, other than me, because I'm perfect. Um, the painting behind me, right here, one of my favorite kinds of art, I can't touch it, is like Victorian era or like 18 to really, really early 1900s. Uh, illustrations of animals and insects and plants. Um, before cameras were really popular. Before cameras were popular, we couldn't travel all over the place with the internet or with planes and cars. Naturalists had to catalog biodiversity by painting and drawing them. And in the Middle Ages, you had some really crappy creative ones where, you know, a snake has a dog's head, or a rhino looks like a dragon because they've never actually seen them. They're just guessing off oral accounts of what they see. Um, but you know, these paintings behind me are beautiful paintings of beetles. I don't know who the actual artist is. This is just a print, obviously, but you know, this person clearly loved nature, loved beetles, definitely devoted their life to studying biological entities, but also made just the most compelling, beautiful drawings and arranging them in a pleasing way. Look at this. Do you think they had to arrange them? Does it add any more functionality to arrange the praying mantis with the beetles in this perfect layout? Right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't add any more function to that. But it's the form, baby. It's the form. It's beautiful in itself. It's a tool for teaching people about nature. And it's also beautiful. It's something a freak like me wants to have on their walls. Maybe we should treat. There's an article on this, but I cannot remember who wrote it. I'm so sorry. I can't remember. I will put it in the description box. There's an article that essentially says, look, maybe we should treat artworks like we should treat people, as both useful in our lives, but primarily intrinsically valuable. That they have inherent value and dignity. Of course, most of us do not treat anything other than our own life like it has inherent value or dignity because we don't really believe in it. Or if we do believe it, we're just selfish jerks. And so, you know, if we don't even treat other people or ourselves as having inherent value, how are we going to treat their artworks, right? But maybe we should treat artworks more like we treat people, as bearing both intrinsic and instrumental value. And again, I just thought this video is fascinating because it really just, it starts from the same place I do. And it just goes in literally like he's trying to make a video that just completely contradicts my end point. So yeah, I just thought that was fascinating. Wanted to share it. I want to pull up real quick. Man, I don't know if I'm allowed to do it though. I don't know. I want to show. I have this bad habit of looking on Instagram and a bunch of other photography websites and finding photography that I just think perfectly illustrates our moral and aesthetic shallowness and saving it in folders and stuff, like folders titled "This proves my point" or folders titled "Examples for criticism," things like that. I feel like it might be copyrighted, so I don't think I can pull them all up. But I just want to show I can do this. When you just type in cliche photos, right? You essentially get an infinite number of photos that all look exactly the same because that's what sells. That's what scratches people's itch. If you approach photography or anything in life as just a tool, especially just a tool to make money or just a tool to give you pleasure or scratch an itch, whatever that itch may be, then what you're going to end up doing is creating art that looks like everything else. Because guess what? Human beings are not that different from each other, whether it's now or 10,000 years from now or 10,000 years in the past. We are fundamentally the same sort of person, sort of animal and creature. We have fairly simple desires, and whatever cultural form those take, it is very easy to just identify exactly what human beings want to see and just play right into that, baby. So why pornography is so popular. If I just search AI generated art, let's see. Okay, if I just look up AI generated art, okay, I'm not saying that none of this is beautiful, but what AI has been designed to do through machine learning is to essentially learn what's popular, what takes up the most space on the freaking internet, which is, what people pump out the most, which is a good reflection of what's popular. Copy it and figure out how to reproduce the same thing. And that's why AI art looks like Thomas Kincaid, who is just an awful, awful painter, who's technically skilled, rest in peace, but just has the worst style. Oh, look at it all looks like Thomas Kincaid, or it all looks like the weird cyberpunk style, Japanese influenced, like hyper realistic anime stuff. It's just the reason it all looks the same is because it's taking what people desire the most, which is that feeling of nostalgia or a sexual feeling even, or just a simple like, ooh, I want to feel how I feel on a rainy day when I have a cup of tea. That comfort cozy feeling, I want to feel that. So I'll look at an image that makes me feel that. Right? I'll listen to something that makes me feel that. The AI can pick up what people want and it just reproduce it. That's why AI art looks so crappy. It's not because it doesn't look like human art. It's because it looks like the most sappy, sentimental, cliche, purely consumeristic art that's just a tool for scratching different itches. I hope that makes sense. Artist, there's an article recently, artist, man, what am I thinking? Banned from competition. Well, AI art won a contest. We've probably all seen that article from last year on CNN. AI art won a contest and artists are furious. It was actually one of the ones I pulled up. There. That's pretty. That's very beautiful. Should it win a contest? No. Because, it's very cliche. But, art critics and people who like art don't really know a whole lot about art and don't really have good taste. But here's one on BuzzFeed, the most trustworthy website. Professional artist spent 100 hours working on this book cover image only to be accused of using AI. You know why you got accused of using AI? Because your art, here's my website, your art looks like everything else that the DeviantArt people did, and it's just what people are trained to want to see because it scratches an itch of like a cute semi-anime style looking girl on a fantasy kind of warm and cozy background. Okay? The AI, you're being accused of being like an AI because the AI has looked into your soul and seen how shallow it is and easy to manipulate. It turned your soul and your taste and your creativity into an algorithm, and it just spits out a bunch of copies of you. It's mocking you. The AI is mocking you. The AI is you. The AI is humanity. The worst, most shallow parts of humanity scratching itself. That's what an AI is. It has no new ideas. It only synthesizes things that humans have done. There's my camera, not focusing again. Wish I get better AI for this. The AI is a perfect representation of just this, the attitude of expression, scratching an itch, art as a tool. And you know, it's just what I'm really sick of. On the other hand, again, if you go to my website, well, it's saying something else. pamarks.art, and you go to Etsy and you order prints from me. I promise you, I give you guarantee. If you buy something from me, or if you even pirate it, or if you ask me to send it to you for free, I will promise you that every image in there, I have sat down and wanted to throw myself off a building because I'm wondering, is this actually inherently valuable, or do I like it for some other reason? Is it just sentimental to me? Is it just a tool, or does it have value? Everything I have put out for you to see is because I believe in my heart that has value. I believe. If you want to own a piece of art that's valuable, baby, you've come to the right place. Give me your money. Or, if you don't have money, just ask me for some, I'll send you some. Because I just want, it's not about me. I just want you to have it. I want to make something good. All right, I've gone way too long in this video. Hope it was interesting. I'm signing off. Sorry if I was mean to the, what's his name, Fil Nenna? Whatever, the Medea guy. Salute.